Ego is addicted to negative thinking, but it's not you. Posted on June 13th, 2011. Don't make negative thoughts personal because they are not being thought by who you really are. This may sound confusing if you are identified with a part in you that thinks negative, imaging it to be you. Actually, the energy or the consciousness in you that thinks negative thoughts is what I refer to as the ego. Whenever this energy is active, it stands out in your space. Who you are is pure positive energy, so the ego, when it's active, will always stand out as a sore thumb in your consciousness. You are not the ego. The negative energy that is present in the space of your consciousness keeps feeding on more negativity. It's like self-replenishing cycle. However, this energy cannot sustain itself if you stop fueling it with your attention. Look at it this way. Who you are is pure consciousness, but a part of you has become diluted and has started focusing in a negative manner. If you start believing in this negative consciousness, you feed more consciousness into it and thus make it gain more momentum and mass. That's the reason why certain adults get more and more grumpy as they age, because of the increased accumulation of negative consciousness. The negative energy is like an entity, and hence I term it collectively as the ego in you. The ego is the part in you that judges everything in a negative manner. It gets offended. It looks to insult others, feels jealousy, lack, anxiety, shame, and other negative feelings based in fear. The ego is grounded in fear, and hence anything that it thinks comes from a place of fear. Freedom from the ego is only possible when you start recognizing that you are not the ego. As long as you identify with the ego, you will never want to let it go, and hence it will keep on perpetuating in you. The ego is responsible for the creation of negative realities in your life. Hence, it's of highest importance to dissolve this energy in you. No ego, no suffering. When ego energy completely dissolves in you, it will become evident that who you are is pure positive energy and that there is no suffering in your being. It's not a difficult thing to achieve. All it requires is a recognition that you are not the ego, and hence a disidentification from the movement of the ego. The ego energy will automatically slow down in momentum and eventually dissolve as you stop identifying with it. Can you realize that the ego is playing out in the background of your consciousness, which is very vast and silent? You are this vast consciousness, and your nature is based in love and joy. Peace is inherent in your nature. Shift your attention to this silent and deep part of you that seems to reside as the background to all the negative noise made by the ego. As you give attention to this silent consciousness, it starts waking up in you and starts coming forth into the foreground of your experience. It dissolves all patterns of ego until there is none left. The ego wants to survive, and hence it does put up a fight for a while. But once pure consciousness wakes up, the demise of the ego is inevitable. The light of consciousness penetrates through the dark energy of the ego, transmuting it back to its natural state. When there is no ego left in you, there is no more suffering. What remains is an expression of love, joy, and peace.